Okay, so I was watching a video and it was talking about how I believe he said it was up in Illinois. Illinois? Anyways, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Illinois. That how the tornado alley has moved, and now they're getting hit with tornadoes like really bad, and they didn't used to. And I had made a comment. Now this was just a comment. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not claiming I know anything, and I'm not saying anything as a fact. Okay. But I made a comment. I said, yeah, I said, I still feel like they're using climate change to prove I still think they're using weather modification to prove climate change, is what I said. And this was a private conversation with my husband. So when I said that, then I got a thought. So I said, because I was just wondering. I asked ChatGPT, I said, what states now have the Meta AI data centers in it? And then it just put states now have AI data centers in it. Cut part of my words off. And he said, yes. And it's not just California anymore. Several states are now seeing real community backlash because AI data centers are consuming enormous amounts of electricity and water, especially for cooling systems. So at first I'm thinking, well, maybe that's why they're getting rain. But he continued, the biggest trouble spots right now include Virginia, especially North Virginia, which has the highest concentration of data centers in the world. Residents and officials are increasingly worried about grid strain, rising power demand, water usage, and constant constructions. And some studies warn the local power grid is becoming vulnerable under AI growth. Okay, and then the other states he listed, I'm not going to read about every one of them, is Georgia, Arizona, Texas, California, and Utah. And honestly, this is becoming a nationwide political issue right now, which we all know. And communities are starting to ask, wait a minute, why are people being told to conserve water and electricity while billion-dollar AI centers are guzzling both like a camel and an oasis? But that's not what this is about. So anyway, so he goes on about all that, and he says the state's seeing some of the heaviest rain. Okay, so then he cut out my questions. Okay, so then I said, okay, currently, which ones are having data centers where the people that live there are being affected by their water pressure being too low and all that? And he said, so far this year, now the state's seeing some of and I just listed those states. Okay. And then, now you said the biggest trouble spots right now was Virginia, Georgia, Arizona, Texas, California, Utah. All right. And then I said, another question I have, and I had to change the direction because if I just went into my thought, he would not answer what I wanted to hear because he would think, well, that's just your speculation and we need to stick to the facts and okay. So I said, what states this year have gotten the most rain and storms, right? And he says, if you're talking about this year so far, Wisconsin has its wettest April on record. Michigan also recorded its wettest April. Mississippi and Texas, Oklahoma and Kansas. Okay, parts of the Midwest overall. Okay, all right. He says, ironically, some places that normally get tons of rain have actually been unusually dry this year. Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. Many of those states are in significant drought right now. And then he said, now, if you mean historically rainiest states overall, year after year, that's a different list entirely. The wettest states on average are usually Hawaii, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Bleh, right? Okay. So then, and he goes all into explanation about that, which is neither here nor there. Okay. Then my next thought was, okay, so ironically, there are droughts there in some of these places. So then I asked him, well, what would happen if those states that typically usually have tons of rain, that have data centers, got tons of rain? Would that have affected the meta centers? And he said, yes, absolutely. Drag this over here instead of looking over there. He said, yes, absolutely. Heavy rain, flooding, hurricanes, and severe storms can affect major AI data centers, including Meta's facilities. That's actually becoming a growing concern in the industry. But here's the interesting part, too. Little water and too much water can both become problems. Okay. Flooding can damage, obviously, for what reasons? Lightning and severe storms can cause power instability or outages. Hurricanes can knock out grid infrastructures for days or weeks. The honest answer is a mix of everything. And that's why the debates, I don't care about the debate. And data centers and hyperscale facilities used by Meta, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are powered by the same electrical grid everybody else uses. The electricity itself comes from whatever resources. That includes natural gas, still the biggest source in many states, coal, nuclear power, hydroelectric dams, wind, solar, and occasionally diesel backup generators. Okay. So if that's the case, they're using all these resources that God knows how much at a time. Why are they so hard pressed for us to get off of fuel burning cars and get on to electric cars when they're just burning fuel like it's nothing for these meta centers? Yeah, people notice the contradictions. Residents are told to conserve energy, buy efficient appliances, limit watering lawns, take shorter showers, while AI centers consume as much as they want. As much as a small city, really. And the power numbers are staggering. Some advanced AI campuses are projected to require hundreds of megawatts, even gigawatts of electricity. That's approaching the scale of major industrial operations. So, tell me then, is it climate change or somebody, and we've got plenty of videos and plenty of resources showing that they actually do seed the clouds to increase the amount of rain, that actually they put these, like, actually the chemical elements, like, the elements table is BAAL, which ironically is the three, I think it's three: barium, aluminum, and I forgot what the other one was, that they use to seed the clouds with, that will cause any moisture that's in the clouds to fall so that the rain would be heavier. But ironically, the elements, they spell BAAL. Now that is true. That I can show plenty of resources to back that up. But yeah, I just thought about this and I thought, isn't that interesting? One movie I would definitely recommend you watching is They Live. It was from the 80s, but there's so much information in that. So much information in. They tell us in movies and TV shows. Soylent Green is another one. 1984 is another one. You might check them out. They're old. I've been going back and watching the older movies, and a lot of these, like disaster movies or these other pandemic movies and stuff like that. Yeah. I just watched a video where they're talking about the neurovirus that's on that one ship, that people were allowed to get off the ship. And I think they said, I forgot where they said they got off, but it was the Florida Keys, somewhere in there. Everglades, and they were allowed to fly back home. So now the people that were sick with that, not the HANA virus, but the neurovirus, which is not killing people, but you're deathly ill for 96 hours. You might as well just put a bed in the bathroom. But they all flew back to the United States, several states of the United States, to Singapore, to several countries outside the U.S. I'll have to share this video that I'm watching. It's Madrika, is who it is. But anyways, in this movie that I watched called Pandemic, that's exactly how that pandemic, that virus that did kill, spread. This one guy, I don't know how he contracted it, but he got on a plane to fly back home. He got people on the plane sick. And then those people that weren't sick from it yet got off and dispersed it throughout the world, because they went on to other flights or they went home, and it just... Yeah, so they tell us in the movies, so you might just check some of these older movies out and those along those kind of topic lines, and you're going to see they've been telling us all along what they were going to do without telling me how you're going to kill us next without telling us how you're going to kill us next. Amen. But again, this is just for entertainment purposes only.